Today, I'm going to try to draw the upper level of this courtyard in Valladolid, Spain. And what you're seeing here is a small slice of the Santa Cruz Palace, which today houses part of the University of Valladolid, an extensive collection of African art, and the Historical Library of Santa Cruz, among other things. As you can see, it's a beautiful piece of architecture from the inside, and the outside is twice as impressive. So why didn't I draw that? Good question. Well, as I've alluded to over the past few videos, it has been raining quite a bit. And when I first stumbled upon the palace facade, it was raining then too. So today, returning in hopes that I could make it work, I noticed the front door was open and it led into this magical courtyard. It didn't take me long to realize that, rain or not, I would be protected. Ironically, once I started drawing, the sun came out for a few minutes. But whatever, I'm just glad to be here. So yeah, starting this one was sort of a rapid, scattered process. We got here with not much time to spare. They were closing in less than 30 minutes. So I knew I needed to work quickly and not get too bogged down or distracted with any one thing. As you can see, I've done a fair bit of scribbling, which seems ridiculous, and it looks like it too. But my approach, especially in the beginning, was simple. I wanted to notice the values of the balustrade, first and foremost, and just get as much vague detail in as possible. Had I suffered each and every little angle and perspective shift, of which there are many, this area would have cost me precious time, which I did not have. From there, I start to build out the surrounding elements. I'm bringing some structure to the scene with the start of the foreground arch, and I take the same tack as I did with the balustrade. There are lines here that don't exactly exist in real life, but I fully expected that to happen given my super casual approach. Keeping an eye on the perspective becomes more and more relevant the higher I go, and it will eventually become maybe the most important part of the drawing as I move into the background. You'll notice that there's a lot of narrowing going on back there, most notably with the arches, and so I start to slow things down to accommodate that. Where building the foreground section was all about seeing the vision and applying it to paper, the background was about crafting the illusion of depth and trying to avoid making any significant missteps along the way. The foreground can be imperfect in the details as long as the scale feels right, but the drawing as a whole relies on the rest being correct in perspective and proportion to feel like a place in the real world. At least that's what I was telling myself. At the time, this looked and felt like a complete disaster. I've mentioned it before, but sometimes it's just impossible to pull back and see what I've made objectively. It's like I'm looking through like this veil, like an artistic veil that locks me into my, intense, hyper-subjective view. And it feels like I can't take the veil off until I've stepped away entirely. Even once I finish a drawing, it doesn't go away. It takes a few hours. I've tried so many times to just stop and look away for a few minutes, but there's so much of that like bubbling energy all focused on this one thing, this one task. It's an odd experience. Anyway, so because of that, hand in hand with what felt like an unorthodox approach, I would have bet money on this becoming just awful. But actually, I think I did okay. And the approach is almost definitely what saved me. Without the time limit, I probably would have homed in on the balustrade, and upon finishing it, I would have looked up at the rest of the scene in horror. All those arches, what the heck am I supposed to do with those? Especially with something so repetitive, I wouldn't have had a chance. Although thankfully, regardless of my approach, while this is repetitive in real life, the perspective does a lot to angle things in such a way where everything feels unique. That also makes things a bit more difficult, but I think it's well worth it in the end. And real quick, if you're enjoying this video or the series in general, go ahead and like the video. And if you'd like to keep enjoying it, subscribe to the channel. Also, today is drawing 150. That's pretty cool, I'd say. What do you think? Let me know. So lastly, Something I don't often do, but was vital for me today, was using my pen to understand angles. I consistently forget that this is a thing, but as soon as I remember, I curse myself for ever forgetting. Basically, as I'm drawing, I will reach a point, in this case, let's say the edge of the roof that cuts through the middle, and I'm unsure of exactly how angled it should be. I won't go into the whole 2D versus 3D diatribe, but being here in real life with my human binocular vision makes things look a lot less concrete than they do on your screen right now. But this is where the pen comes in handy. I can hold my pen in the air, align it with that line of the roof, and see where it starts and ends by matching it up with, in this case, the foreground arch. This is probably not a great example, actually, because my roof isn't perfect. None of this is. But it's a truly useful tool that I hope I can utilize more often. Also, and this is probably even more useful to me, I can use it to confirm a given line's perspective. So sometimes it can be confusing, especially on some of these pillars, to understand whether a line is flat, like facing directly toward me, or angled in some way. And again, by holding up my pen, it gives me a clear answer that I can just see right in front of me in real life without having to consider all of the more abstract and artsy rules or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I think this did the job I was hoping it would. I can certainly tell that I rushed through it, but even so, I'm pleased with the outcome. And actually, it's maybe more exciting because of it. I like to know what I can do on a time crunch, and the more I can hone those skills, the more I'll be able to accomplish in shorter and shorter periods. Obviously, this is messy and blatantly incorrect in plenty of places, but I don't really care. Do you? Probably not. Let me know anyway, and subscribe to the channel to follow along. I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this one, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.